and welcome back to the Reading Corner. Today, we are going to do the July wrap-up video. And I just have to tell you, it was not a good month. I had one book that I enjoyed. The rest of them were flops. I did not enjoy them. Hopefully August will be a better month for me. I've already started some books in August that I'm enjoying, so hopefully things will be better for August, but July was just not ideal for me. So without further ado, let's just get into it. The first book I read was A Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court by Mark Twain, and I DNF'd this one. I didn't even know how far into it, probably 45%, and I couldn't do it anymore. I could not deal with the main character. So the premise for the story is that this Connecticut Yankee, hence the title of the book, somehow time travels back into the time of King Arthur and the Round Table and ends up spending a significant amount of time there. And so he takes what he learns from, his current time, right, and brings it into King Arthur's time. And all these people are like, oh my gosh, like, this is magical. Like, he gave them water and other technologies of that sort, and he just ate that up, and I just couldn't do it. Like, him using other people for his own gain and for his fame, not my thing. So that was when I DNF'd it. I gave it a 1-star rating. Sometime soon, I'll get into my rating system. I think I'll make that probably a Instagram reel, so be on the lookout for that. Just know that if I rated it 1 star, that means that I did not finish it. Now, moving on to the one highlight of the month, which was Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. Oh my gosh, I think you guys know how much I love the story, how much I loved the characters. I know that some people don't like it, and I understand that. There were some tropes, as well as some things that went on in the series that reminded me quite heavily of other series, and so I can understand that. Because some people, don't like seeing things from other stories incorporated into other stories so clearly. So I can understand, why people wouldn't like it, but I loved it. I talked about in my Goodreads review that it reminded me of Divergent and Red Queen with dragons in it. Editing Jada here, it also reminds me of A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. I just loved it, and I cannot wait for Iron Flame to come out, because I want to know what's going to happen with all of the things that we learned at the very end of the story. But if you want an in-depth look into what I loved about the series, as well as some of my predictions, then check out my favorite scenes and quotes from Fourth Wing, and I'll link it up here in the cards. The third book that I read this month was COVID, The Greatest Cover-Up in History by Dylan Howard and Dominic Houghton. I was skeptical. One of my friends told me to read this story, and I was skeptical because I was like, who is talking about this? Where is this information coming from? And so I looked up the main author, Dylan Howard, and I learned that he was in the broadcasting industry, specifically entertainment, and I was like, oh no, because I thought that it was gonna be some dramatic story, almost about COVID and dramatizing things, right, for that sensation. And so I was really skeptical going into it. But I really enjoyed it. Both authors did a lot of research. They started the book in the very beginning and ended it 6 months after. So we only got the first 6 months, but they did very in-depth research. All of their quotes and things that they were talking about were pulled from, it depends on your definition of reliable sources, but, people from the CDC and also, real live interviews and things that were being said on television. So things from the Prime Minister of Britain, the former president of Brazil. So they were pulled from, official people. So I enjoyed it. It was a bit dry, just because it was purely the facts. It was, this is what's going on. It wasn't dramatized. There wasn't any like twist to it, right? Because sometimes in the news things can be twisted, but this was very much dry facts. This is what's going on, and this is what we know so far. This is what made it enjoyable for me, was that the authors asked questions for the reader to ponder, but that's all they did. Very much enjoy that. 3 out of 5 stars. And I forgot to mention, Fourth Wing, I rated 5 out of 5. So my fourth and final book for the month of July was Good Omens by Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman, and it just did not hit the mark for me. My friend Ritika, who I know you're tired of hearing this, but appeared on the Song Association's video, recommended it to me, and I was really excited because she was telling me things about it. And when I reached those parts, I was excited. For example, she told me about, the baby switch. I'm into it. How do we get the wrong baby? Like, what does that entail? But after that, I was like, even the love story between Agnes Nutter's ancestor and the witch hunter's ancestor kind of fell flat for me. Like, I didn't get enough information for me to be excited about their love story and that they were destined to be together. I made a reading vlog about it, so if you want to go back and watch that to get my reactions in real time, feel free. But I just was not into it. I felt like the Antichrist / Adam should have played a bigger role, because they were making such a big deal out of the Antichrist and who this child was, that I was expecting him to have a bigger role, and he didn't. So that was like my main problem with it.
Editing Jada here. I rated it 3 out of 5 stars just because I think it's a book you could read once and or get a summary of, and you would be fine.
So those were all the books that I read for the month of July. Looking at August, I'm never going to do a TBR because I am such a mood reader that I probably won't stick to it. So I don't want you guys expecting, to hear about a particular book in a wrap-up video or on the channel, and then never hear about it. So instead, at the end of every wrap-up video, I'm going to talk about the books that I'm currently reading. I'm currently reading a doctorate. I'm reading their thesis. It's by Nick Susanis. It's a graphic novel about society and how we're all on these predetermined paths, and because we're on these predetermined paths, we don't have a say in what happens to us. We just go along that predetermined path and do what we're told to do, and because of that, we've lost the ability to think for ourselves, and see the world in the bigger picture. We have a very narrowed view of what the world is supposed to be. So far so good. I'm only 1 chapter in. There's about 8 chapters and I'm only 1 chapter in. So I'm also finishing up Seventh Son by Olson Scott Card. That one, I don't know. I'm trying to figure out if I want to continue the series or not, because this is a series. There are 7 books in the series, and I just, I don't know, not really into that one either. So we'll see. The last one that I'm reading is called The Reluctant Empress by Bridget Hellman, and I currently I have about 5 chapters left. I would rate 3 stars because there was a certain point. It's about the Empress of Austria, Elizabeth, otherwise known as Sisi, and her husband, Franz Joseph, and it was interesting until she made the political move to bring the Austrians and the Hungarians together, and then the story's just like, the story's boring. It hasn't fallen apart in any means. It's very good biographical story, but just I'm like bored. I've fallen asleep at multiple points, and I don't feel like I need to go back and listen to what I've missed, because I can gather enough of the details to pick up on what is happening. So yeah, that is what I'm currently reading, as well as what I read for the month of July. Let me know in the comments what you guys have been reading, and I will see you next time.